In this part, we want to learn about the effects related to shapes. In previous sessions, we talked about different shapes. We have explained that if you hold the mouse and click on this part, you can choose all kinds of the shapes. Draw the shape in this way, and holding Shift will draw a complete square. You can change the color inside the square with Fill. And from this part, you can remove the stroke by selecting the None option. You learned all this in the previous session. In this session, I want to explain about this Add option. First, I will talk about these parts above. We have two ways to create the shape, or in the same way as I explained. Let me remove this shape to explain the second method. Right-click and select the Shape Layer option from the New section. A shape layer is created. Open this section below. Now from the Add section at the bottom or the top of the page, select the Rectangle option. An empty square is created. You can fill it using the Fill option. You can give it a stroke with the Stroke option. And you can increase its stroke from the upper part. You learned about these options in the previous videos. These effects that you see below are effects for shape. For example, if I select Twist option and open its settings, you will see that it has two components, and you can see the result by changing these numbers. Each effect has its own components and they are different. You can change the angle by changing the angle number. I make this shape a little bigger with the S option. You can change the angle by changing its number. I open the Content and Twist section again and change the number. You can even remove its stroke. So you can twist your shape so easily. Effects that have a stopwatch next to them mean that they can be animated. I click on this option to create a keyframe. I will move the CTI a little and place it on here. Now you can change the angle of the shape with this angle option and make an animation like this. You can also reduce its time. So with the effects you see in this section, you can animate your shape in an attractive way. I will teach you some of the effects. You can test and practice the rest of the effects yourself. Change the numbers of this option yourself and see what happens. And if you find it interesting, you can use it in your motion graphics. For example, I create a keyframe for the center. I want this effect to appear after this one. I move the CTI and change the numbers. You can put different effects on the shape and animate it. I delete this effect and select the Repeater effect. Repeater effect is used to copy the shape and animate it, which is a useful effect. Specify the number of shape copies in the Copies section that you can increase or decrease. If you pay attention to this part, the Repeater effect has a Transform option, which is different from the Transform of the shape layer. For example, if I change the position of the shape's transform, the shape will move. But if I change the position of the Repeater transform, the distance between the square increases. I made 28 copies of this square. If I set it to 4 copies will be created. With the position of this transform, I change the position of the squares. But with the position of the Repeater, I can increase and decrease the distance between the squares. We can also animate this. For example, I'll set it to 0 so they overlap. Then I click on the stopwatch to create a keyframe. Move the CTI 10 frames forward and change the position. You can also change or animate the rest of the options. I've removed the position keyframes and give it a rotation, for example. You can reduce the number of copies and force the squares to rotate around one axis. You can change the position of anchor point. Press Y and move its anchor point and place it here. Now I change the rotation values. You can also change its scale and even animate it. I click on the stopwatch and animate it like this. We can also animate the position at the same time. How you animate them is up to your creativity. You should see many motions and practice. I will delete the repeater effect and explain another effect to you and try the rest of the effects yourself. Press Y and move its anchor point. I will convert this square to a rectangle with S and place it here. Using the zigzag effect, we can make sea waves. When I open the zigzag part, its settings are open. Each effect has its own settings. Change the settings yourself and you can see the result in real time. Don't be afraid that if I change this, it might be a mess. If you mess up, you can delete the effect and apply it again. Test all these effects yourself and make an attractive animations with them. By selecting the smooth option, these waves are softened, just like sea waves. You can increase the size of these waves with the scale option, and you can animate the movement of the water by keyframing the ridges per second option. You can try the rest of the options yourself and see the result. Test the rest of the effects yourself. For example, the round corners effect rounds the corner of the shape. I make the rectangle a little smaller, and I use the round corner effect. With the radius option, you can determine the amount of roundness. Try all these effects and put them on the shape and test the result. Certainly, attractive animations can be made with these effects. Thanks for watching.